remember, every morning at 10 a.m., this is what we do. We do financial consciousness training. Consciousness, one part of consciousness is awareness, sight, being able to see what's out there. And I tell you, if you can't see the money, you'll never be the money. You can't catch something you can't see. You can't connect to something that where you don't even know what it looks like. So if you can't see the money, you can't be the money. But also, if you don't have the discipline to go and put yourself in positions where the money's located or chase down the opportunities when they come by you, if you are the lion in the woods who's been eating Snickers bars, you can't hunt because you're fat and lazy. You're sitting there just watching everything go by. So to me, I was thinking about this, and I'm going to jump into what triggered this thought today. I saw this interview with the one and only Umar Johnson. Umar is an interesting guy. In case you don't know him, you should look him up. He's a great speaker, one of the greatest speakers I've ever seen. He's also a guy that's interesting. He's had some ups and downs, and I know Umar knows me, and I know him. We've known each other for a long time. I met him about 12 years ago or something, and he apparently he doesn't like me because I tell the truth about things, but I'm not critical of him. I give him lots of compliments, but at the same time, I point out what I see. So, if you were to ask Umar, what do you think about Dr. Boyce Watkins? He ain't nothing. He a sellout, bro. Okay, sure. Great. Sounds good. All right. So here's what I wanted to bring up, though, because I saw he had an interesting conversation with a young guy who is a young wealth builder by the name of Aristotle. Aristotle's about 28 years old. And looks like he's really trying to do some stuff, and I'm happy for him, excited for him. And they were talking about a conversation apparently Umar had with a rapper named Lil Yachty. And Lil Yachty, he mentioned to Lil Yachty something about starting a rap. Lil Yachty's a rapper, in case you don't know. So Lil Yachty, he says to Lil Yachty, you should take $250,000 and start a little bank and make loans to people that want to start businesses. I like the great idea. Right? Nothing wrong with that. Well, he said Lil Yachty didn't want to do it. And then I saw a comment from a guy I've known for a long time named Alfred Edmond, who I believe was with Black Enterprise. I think he's still there. And he says that's insane. That's crazy. It takes at least 12 to 15 million dollars to start a bank. And you have all these regulations you have to follow and everything else. Now here was where I started processing this because you guys know I'm not a financial influencer. I'm a financial scientist. I've been teaching finance to college students for 30 years now, actually 31 now. So I really look at these issues very carefully, and not just in terms of the formalities of running a bank. Those regulations, we can look all those up and know what they are. But more deeply, I think about the culture. And I thought about what Alfred said. I thought about what Umar said, thought about what Aristotle said, what Lil Yachty said. And I said, okay, this is interesting. Also, as a Black man, I see everything through the lens of a Black man. So my first thought was, Alfred, actually, and I said this to him respectfully because I like the guy too. I respect Alfred Edmonds a lot. And I said, well, actually, to get the functionality of a bank, you don't really need to actually have a bank, right? That's the first thing. How many of you, give me a yes if you've heard people talk about the need for more Black-owned banks. Give me a yes if you've seen people talk about that a lot. And my friend Killer Mike has done some stuff with Greenwood, a company called Greenwood. I don't know if that's a bank. I don't know the exact structure of that, but I love Killer Mike. Killer Mike's been my friend for a very long time. All right, give me a yes if you've heard people talk about that, the need for more Black-owned banks, and let me know if you agree with this. Yes. Okay. Now here's the challenge with a bank. Banks are really hard to run. Banks have a stack of regulations that are like this high. If you go back and you look up things like the Dodd-Frank bill and stuff like that, the investor protections in the United States are absolutely insanely deep. A lot of this came from the Great Depression, where a lot of people lost their life savings. So they passed a series of laws that are just so strict that if you take other people's money, you have to dot every I and cross every T. And the thing is that the regulations are so thick that people make the legitimate argument that sometimes the regulations get in the way of innovation. So what tends to happen is they'll have some sort of crisis or crash. Congress steps in. There's a lot of regulation. Okay, we got to make sure this doesn't happen. So we're going to pass this law, this law, this law, and this law. And then the banks operate under all this weight of regulation. It's like a gorilla on their back. And then they start saying, "Man, come on, man, this is too much. We can't make money. We can't do anything because you guys have all this regulation." So then they start a deregulation phase. They're like, "Oh well, we haven't had a crisis in a while. Everything's okay. Let's just let's take the weight off their backs a little bit." So they start deregulating. Like for example, during Clinton's presidency, they started deregulating banks and everything. And it's fine at first, right? But there's always like this one person in the woods, like I forgot her name. It's not Nancy Pelosi. It's I forgot. She teaches at Harvard. Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren will step in and say, no, 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 no.